First week of spring football practice continues at the U, and Miami Hurricanes head coach Mario Cristobal outlined exactly what he wants his team to learn this week.
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm Alex Donno, University of Miami alumnus, co-host of Locked On ACC, and writer for Canes County at Rivals. And thank you so much to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. On today's episode, we'll talk about early takeaways from the tight ends and receivers, one of the units I got to watch in the first practice on Monday. There's big news now sweeping college football. The ACC is about to settle with Florida State and Clemson. So the lawsuits are going to be put aside, what it means, and also how Miami gets to benefit from all this in a sneaky way. And we'll talk about the big focus for the Hurricanes in week one of spring football. But as you know, my friends, it's a Tuesday. It's a Truth Teller Tuesday. And he's with us now, Bruce Warner. I know, Bruce, we were expecting Bryant McKinney today. We're probably going to have that happen at a later date. And you know what? I didn't want to share the spotlight with you, with Bryant. I wanted the truth teller all to myself today. How are you, sir?
I'm okay. I'm disappointed. I texted him last night. He gave me a thumbs up at 8:14 that he was going to be on. I can't reach him. I texted him. I called him. Went to voicemail, so I guess he's not coming on. So
Bryant McKinney was a 6'7" offensive tackle at Miami. You saw Miami did land a verbal commitment from another one of those last night. Ben Congdon out of Ohio, 6'7" offensive tackle. We talked about that on Locked On Canes last night. But we have spring football in progress, Bruce. Miami is off today on Tuesday. Had their first practice yesterday. It was a good session, keeping in mind the context, no pads, no hitting, but we got to watch some individual drills, got to watch some one-on-one drills, some passing drills, which are always fun to watch out there, seeing a guy like Malachi Tony glide down the field, seeing JoJo Trader looking really good. Here's Mario Cristobal after the first practice, and he outlines, Bruce, exactly what he wants to see from his team and what he wants them to learn this time of year.
Productive day, very productive first day. And again, whenever we head into spring ball, we always want to really preach and we want to accomplish advancements in culture. Every year is a different year. And nowadays in college football, it's almost like every year it's a one-year team because there's so much turnover. But we practice with energy and with purpose, even though we're not in pads, with some physicality. But during this time, we always stress technique, fundamentals, culture, and we always coach effort, toughness, and discipline. Communication, you name it, we want it, and staying up off the ground. So, but maybe the most important and the hardest thing we pushed today was teaching our team how to work. We work to a certain standard here at Miami, and the pace of practice shows that, exemplifies that. And there were some spots today where maybe we bogged down a bit, not much. And it was good to see our guys push through and get ourselves, again, a productive first day.
A big thing for me, Bruce, that I notice is, they have these practices timed out to the second. And this is because of, the NCAA rules of exactly how long you're allowed to practice per week and all that. And they've got a scoreboard that has all the periods. There's like 7 or 8 periods. Well, I know there's more than that. We're allowed to watch 7 periods. It's probably like 14 or 15 total in a practice, and they're all timed exactly to the second. So to me, it's about maximizing that time, right? Practicing quickly, but also practicing efficiently, because you only have a certain amount of reps out there at Green Tree and in the indoor practice facility, and you cannot waste a second out there, Mr. Warner.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I've been there and I've seen all that. It's important, back again, I can keep referring to back in the day, but they didn't have all that stuff. They blew whistles when they decided they were going to blow the whistles. But there was somebody out there that had like a little clock or something so they could do it like that. But it wasn't like a big scoreboard where you could see what's going on. Look, these individual drills and the team drills, they're all important. It's building chemistry, as Mario said, mental toughness, as he mentions. He said something about talking about discipline. And that's something that we've complained about for years, a lack of discipline on this team for whether it was individuals or last year. Remember on the sideline, there was like a shoving match.
Yeah, at the Pop Tarts
So
Bowl.
that's something he needs to clean up.
Yeah.
Because when you look at something like that, that looks more like me than the team. And so, yeah, and all these practice habits are important as you go further and further and further. Building a chemistry with the guys on the defensive line, with the guys in the secondary, your linebacker mates, the receivers running routes, the backs looking at the right holes, and all that stuff is so important to get down pat. And I'm looking at this year, and I said to you before, and I'll say it again. To me, the defense is the most critical aspect of what we're going to see now, fall practice, and then during the season. That defense last year was a sieve, and they've got to correct all those things. Open receivers, horrible angles, bad tackling, blown assignments, all that stuff. And I don't know if the answer is just a new coordinator with a new scheme, but I like what they've done. I like the fact that when you talk to Hetherman, right? That's his name, the coach, you're talking about aggressiveness.
Yeah.
Toughness, attacking defense. Those are the key buzzwords that I've wanted to hear for the longest time. And we're hearing it now. And now you got Damian in there on the D-line with Jason Taylor. I couldn't see anything better than that. And so I'm just hoping that they find the right combinations of DBs.
Yeah.
I think they have guys that are much faster than they had last year, because our team speed in the secondary last year was horrible. These guys seem to be a little bigger. You mentioned yesterday that those guys are all in the 6 foot, 6'1", 6'2" range.
Yes, that's a great point. All of Miami's, new corners and safeties, they're all 6'1" and up, and some of them are not only tall but also thick. Like Xavier Lucas, I think, is a prime example. He's 200 plus at like 6'3". I mean, that he's built like a future NFL player.
Right, and you also mentioned that you were wrong that Damari Brown was there yesterday. You didn't remember seeing him.
Yeah. So it's funny because I even saw somebody made like a message board topic about what I said, but all I said was like, you had asked me specifically yesterday, how did Damari Brown look? And I didn't notice him. I'm out there for 40 minutes. I've got one set of. I didn't want to speculate if he was there or not, but thankfully I double checked that he was there. I even saw some photos of Damari Brown, so I'm glad I was wrong about that one, because he is practicing and he looks good. Because guess what? As far as returning guys go, guys like Damari Brown, OJ Frederick, of course. I think Ryan Mack could have a breakout year this year.
His name keeps popping up too.
Yeah.
But as far as Brown is concerned, he's out there, and that's what really matters, that he is out there. And we now have another guy in there that we've seen play before that is capable of making plays. And so hopefully, again, all this gets tied up, and you have your starting four, and you have your the second stringers that are going to get in the game, and you might not see the drop off.
Right.
They see with other teams if somebody goes down. And that's what this depth is all about. And that's what they need, depth. They've got it at places where we didn't really have it in the last couple of years. And so the defense, again, to me, is the critical. Last year, the whole thing was about Cam Ward and the offense. We assumed the defense was going to be good, but it wasn't. Now they have to work on it. And the offense is a work in progress too, obviously.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, but sticking with the defense for a second, like when you asked the question, was it on the coaching or was it on the players? My answer is yes. I think it was both of those things. Like I can't put all of it on Lance Guidry. I understand why they had to make a change there, and I have high expectations for Corey Hetherman, but Guidry didn't have enough depth in the defensive secondary. And that was something Mario talked about, that they, weren't expecting to have a lot of injuries in that unit, and they did. And it wasn't a very deep unit to begin with, and they had to deal with injuries and all that. So that really exposed Miami's lack of depth there. And then that's why you go out and you get Lucas, Charles Brantley, Charles Brantley was someone a lot of people thought he wouldn't practice because he had suffered a late season leg injury at Michigan State, but he did practice, no restrictions. Why
he battling with JoJo?
He was battling with JoJo a lot. Like the two of them were doing one-on-ones against one another. You brought in Emmanuel Carnley, Ethan O'Connor, Zechariah Poyser at safety, who's someone his coaches speak very, very highly of. And you've got to turn that defense around, Bruce. And something else, when, we played that clip of Cristobal wanting his guys to learn how to work.
Yes.
And maximize every rep and everything. Another theme that was thrown around when the players and coaches spoke yesterday is that, these guys are trying to harness, any of the negativity that came out of, losing 3 out of their last 4 games last year. Chip on the shoulder is something that they want to have, because they want to finish what they started last year. Like they don't want last year to be the flash in the pan sort of thing. Everybody on that field is motivated to actually build on what happened last year. Because, of course, the last time Miami won 10 games in 2017, they regressed the following year.
Yes,
we can't let that happen this year.
Yeah. Look, you could look at Mario's body of work for the 3 years, 5-7, 7-6, 10-3. It's going up. Now, the question becomes, what happens after this? Because Cam's not here. Cam won 2 or 3 games all by himself, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. Without him, they would have been 8-5, 7-6. Who knows? But this year, I'm looking, and I said it the first time we talked a few weeks ago. This is gonna be a more balanced team. The offense will be very good. The defense will be very good. And then the key is, and I think the key could be special teams, which we know there's no special teams coach, right? And the special teams have not been good. So you see from year to year to year where Mario makes progressions, but the special teams has to progress now. That's what we have to have, because we used to have an incredible special team, whether it was Devin returning kicks, whether it was Tremaine Mack blocking punts or field goals or whatever. Those were the things, and our coverage, kickoff coverage and punt coverage used to be spectacular.
Yeah.
And now all bets are off. So that's another component that when you look at Jimmy Johnson, what he did, and he always talked about special teams. I don't hear Mario talk about it that much. Do you? I mean, you're in those press conferences.
Yeah, he does. I mean, he wasn't asked about it yesterday, so I'm not going to say he talked about it yesterday, but I've heard him talk about it before, and they know, like, believe me, they know that they need to find more dynamic return men and better coverage, because they gave up some key kickoff returns. Like in the Louisville game, they had just scored a touchdown. They gave up a kickoff return the play after that. That stuff is inexcusable.
Yep, yeah, it's inexcusable. But also, again, there's not that many Tremaine Macks in this world, but they need to be able to find somebody that could put pressure on a punter or a field goal kicker. Yeah. Maybe they'll shank it. It just seems almost like it's automatic. These guys could be from 59 yards out, and we're watching and go, "Oh, you're gonna make this," and he makes it.
Right. Always against us. Martin
us.
Grammatica's son made like the 59-yarder against us. Of course it's going to go in against Miami. But we got a lot more to talk about on this episode of Locked On Canes. A little bit later, I want to talk about how Miami can low-key benefit from this ACC settlement with Florida State and Clemson. But coming up next, I want to continue to talk about what we're seeing on the field this week, specifically at tight end and wide receiver, because Bruce mentioned, hey, the offense, good as they were last year, a lot of new pieces on that offense this year in personnel. You guys want to keep it locked right here. We're nowhere near done yet on this brand new episode of Locked On Canes. My friends, get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades. Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from the 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage, and now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Thank you for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. For your next listen, make sure you check out Locked On ACC. We'll talk about it on Locked On Canes today. Kenton Gibbs and I talked about it last night. The settlement about to happen between Florida State, Clemson, and the ACC. They're going to put the lawsuits behind them, but at what cost? We'll talk about that and so much more. We continue to talk about Miami's football practices today with the truth teller, Bruce Warner.
I have something I want to ask you, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
And I don't know the answer to this, but I just had this thought, and I'm thinking, Carson Beck. Everybody wants to know what kind of a year he's going to have, but so what effect, if any, do you think will have on Beck not playing against SEC competition and not playing against all those big physical teams? And not that the ACC is weaklings, but I think that could have an impact. Maybe it won't be as hard as we're thinking here, because he's not going up against those big time defenses.
I think that's massive. That's massive. And it's something because, and I've had this stat on the show before, and I want to reemphasize it because you asked me a great question. Okay, so everyone talks about, Carson Beck. His numbers were still good last year, but not as good as they were the year before. Okay, but last year, Georgia went up against 8 of the top 30 defenses in the country.
Oh, okay.
Miami went up against.
I don't keep those, but that's an interesting stat. That's why I brought that up.
Yeah, and Georgia arguably had the toughest schedule, one of the 2 toughest schedules in the country. Florida was also up there. Obviously, right. Georgia did better against their schedule for the most part than Florida did. So 8 of the top 30 defenses in the country. Miami last year went up against 2 top 30 defenses in America. Georgia went up against 8. And of course, last year we've talked about the other stuff. His O-line was not as good last year as it was the year before. He didn't have Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey to throw the football to. The running game wasn't good. There was a lot of factors why Beck, who still, again, put up good numbers last year. I mean, nearly 3,500 passing yards, just didn't have as good of a year. But yeah, you're right, Bruce. And by ACC standards, Miami has a tough schedule this year. Right. But compared to what he played last year, nowhere near.
And that's what I'm thinking. I mean, the Notre Dame game to him might not be such a big deal. He's played in so many big games. They played
and certainly not the Florida. The Florida, he's undefeated against Florida, 2-0 against the Gators.
Yeah, and
he knows what's that.
Everybody I talk to that's a Gator fan, we're going to kill you guys. We have this quarterback, Lagway. He's great. Blah blah blah. Yeah, well, we'll see. I don't think our quarterback's that bad. He's pretty damn good.
Yeah. Well, and another thing about Beck, like I saw him yesterday. I watched him practicing, and he's going through all the non-throwing stuff, which is good. Like he's participating as much as he is physically cleared to do.
Right.
I still haven't had a chance to meet him yet, right? But something Mark Fletcher talked about Beck a couple times after practice yesterday. One of the things was, Fletch was mentioning, that's my boy. Like they've already become really close and they've done team building activities. Beck invites guys over to his house, which is good. But then Fletcher was also asked, are there similarities? Like how are Carson Beck and Cam Ward similar? And the first words out of Fletcher's mouth were, they're both alphas. So he has said, and again, I haven't met, I know Ward is an alpha because I was, met him several times last year. Haven't met Carson yet, but the fact that Fletcher is vouching for him, saying he's an alpha the way Cam Ward is, that's music to my ears.
Yeah, that's good. He hasn't seen him play. He hasn't been lined up behind him in the huddle, and then they go out. He hasn't seen him do anything.
Sure.
But so the fact that he's like that, and he's involved with the team, it doesn't appear as if, I have all this money and I have these expensive cars and this girlfriend and I'm just a prima donna. It doesn't seem like that at all, which is exactly what Miami needs. They need somebody to come in here and really take the reins of this team, especially on the offense. But again, I'm excited about it. I thought the first month or two after the season, oh my God, it's lost 3 out of 4. And what is he going to do now? I mean, he keeps saying he's changed. We're getting better. How are you getting better? You lost 3 out of 4 and blew a 21-0 lead in the last, and it was the big game. So, but I'm rejuvenated now. And I whatever he says in those press conferences, I take it with a grain of salt now. Sure. I don't really know. Yeah. You don't know, but it sounds good. It sounds good to the reporters. Yeah. But what's happening on the field is more important. And you bringing in some news about, you saw what's the shot, the tight end, Rock Shot.
Yeah.
So, and the receivers, I keep hearing rave reviews about JoJo and Lofton. And so I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, you know what? Yeah, we lost a lot of talent. But Malachi Tony is a less experienced but pretty damn good replacement for Restrepo.
Yeah. And Malachi Tony, by the way,
and faster.
Yeah, and when you were asking me about special teams, I would not be surprised if Malachi Tony is someone who gets opportunities to return kicks or punts. Like, it would not surprise me. Obviously, Ray Joseph is still on the team, and he's done some of that with punt returns. But Malachi Tony, to me, is someone who I think can get involved in that. And yeah, I think the tight end position is going to be a huge focal point for a couple of major reasons. I mean, we've already seen Beck really relying on that spot. I mean, 2 years ago when he had Brock Bowers, that was his primary weapon. What is that? What is this, McKinney?
Bryant is sorry. Can we do it tomorrow?
Let's do it tomorrow. Oh, but it's got to be afternoon though, because I got practice in the morning.
Okay, let me text him.
Tell him in the afternoon.
Recording.
Tell him in the afternoon and tell him thank you and we love him. So we will be getting Bryant McKinney on this week, but it's got to be in the afternoon, because I will be all AM at the practice facility tomorrow. And yeah, so Carson Beck, obviously when he had Brock Bowers, and I don't know for sure if the next Brock Bauer, we have a Brock on this team, and there are some physical similarities between Brock Schott coming out of high school and that other Brock that Carson Beck used to play with. And also, Elija Lofton is someone you will not be surprised to know really stood out in a positive way in Monday's practice. He caught a couple of touchdowns and drills. I think Lofton's going to be a problem. We'll see what he says. But and Bruce, I wonder. One guy that I'm going to watch more closely on Wednesday and beyond. He was out there practicing, but Alex Bauman, who's the new tight end, I didn't watch him as much. Miami still has Jackson Carver, who's going to be competing for trying to move up a little bit on that depth chart. But yeah, I mean, I know we lost Elijah Arroyo, who put up godly numbers last year, and Cam McCormick, who had really solid season, probably one of the more underrated solid seasons, good weapon in the red zone. But Miami's got some dudes at tight end, Bruce, and I think that's really going to be a position that Carson is going to emphasize in the passing game.
I hope so, but they're inexperienced, and the experience factor is important as far as I'm concerned if you really want to be an upper level team. But the thing that Elija Lofton brings to the table is his uniqueness. He's not like your typical 6'5", 250-pound tight end. He does other things. And he is physical and he is violent. We've seen him out there. He just doesn't. He looks like a kid, an adult playing with children in the playground. It just doesn't look normal. But yeah, I want to see him with the ball in his hand, trucking down the sidelines. Let somebody try to knock him out of bounds.
Yeah.
I'm going to look again. I repeat myself, but it's the first practice yesterday. But there's something about it because it's still the Canes. We love the Canes. Everybody knows that I have two sides. I'm Mr. Positive, Mr. Negative, Mr. Neutral, but I'm the truth teller, and I say what I feel, and I can't change. Everybody that makes these comments, don't change, Bruce. Don't listen to these people. Don't worry about it. I'm not worried anymore. I'm going to do my thing. And by the way, and I told Alex, I talk to you guys like you're listening to me right now. But I just texted Bernie Kosar. I want to get Bernie on the show too. So let's see when Bernie gets back to me. But that'll all be coming up, in the future. I'm just glad you guys enjoy when I bring some of my friends on, and they are my friends.
We love it,
and they love it too. It's Bryant just apologized. I'm sorry. These guys don't have to say they're sorry. They just
he's a good dude. I met Bryant, back when he was younger, like around his playing days. But then I saw him again a couple of years ago. He was a featured guest at Legends Camp. Coming back, and he was really good with the media. Had a nice chat with him. So I know McKinney is a grade A dude, and I can't wait to talk to him tomorrow. Going back to what Mario we talked about. We played that clip about learning how to work. Something again I take as a positive sign, Bruce, is that the new players, they have used their past couple of months, right? Because I know yesterday was the first official practice, but these guys have been involved in off-season workouts for the past 2 months, like almost 2 months, going back to mid-January, and everyone seems up to speed. Like a comment that I appreciated was when Inez Cooper, Miami's starting right guard, talked about how James Brockermeyer, the new center, already knows all of his calls. Like he's fully up to speed on the playbook. They didn't have to, baby him and kind of get him caught up. And so, I mean, seems like the new guys are conducting themselves like professionals. Obviously, for some of the freshmen, it's probably a little bit tougher to transition because everything is so new, size, speed, the athletes, the terminologies. But for at least for the transfers, like these guys seem like they're fully locked in and ready, which is great.
And the freshmen that are here. But you know what?
Yeah.
I remember when you just mentioned the words learn how to work. I remember the first or second show we did, and I repeated that. I said, this is what Leon told me, that Mario told him that when he was there in the spring, the first thing he told Leon was, these guys don't know how to work. And here we are in year, 4?
Yeah.
And they're still working on that theme, learn how to work. And because, this has not
but he explained why, but Mario explained why, because he said it's year 4, but in today's college football, you got a new roster every year.
Right. That's exactly the reason why.
Yeah.
There's enough returning players that know how to work, or I like to think they do.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of transfers. There's a lot of freshmen that are coming early. Freshmen rarely came in early back from the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. They would show up.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 would be here in January, and the rest would show up May, June, July. But now it's completely different. These guys are blowing off their second half of their high school year. They're blowing off the proms probably. Yeah. And they're here to work because they have a chance to play as true freshmen, especially at Miami. This is a golden opportunity for these guys. And they're here and they're making the best of it.
Speaking of golden opportunities, Miami has a chance to benefit from a settlement that's going to get signed as soon as today between the ACC, Clemson, and Florida State. So why would Miami benefit? We'll explain why. Keep it locked right here on this brand new episode of Locked On Canes.
Good segue, Alex. Good segue.
I try.
That was good.
Thank you for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch day. By the way, I was giving out updates from practice yesterday, and then, of course, Miami landed a commit from Ben Cogden in the evening. Keep you guys updated on all that stuff if you become a Locked On Canes insider. Click the link in the show description below. Get text messages directly from my phone to yours with breaking news, recruiting scoops, practice updates, show updates. Try it free for 14 days. Text messages from me to you and vice versa. If you like it, you can opt in for $4.99 a month after the 2 weeks. Become a Locked On Canes insider today.
I'd like to find out if I can get this accomplished. Yesterday, I didn't know anything about this, and I'm changing the channels on YouTube, and I see you doing a video of that Miami got this commitment. How come you didn't text me and tell me? You could have texted me, man.
I'm sorry. If you were a Locked On Canes insider, you would have known.
Insider. I'm only the truth teller.
You're an outsider.
I'm an outsider. I look at on the screen and there's Alex talking about. He didn't even text me about it. And I don't know everything that happens. My God.
I'll add you. I'll add you to the group. I'll add you to the insider group.
Oh, that's the only ones that get that.
I mean, if you were on, I'm not going to claim it was an exclusive. I wasn't the only person who had it. But you're not on social media a lot. Like you're on Facebook, but you're not on any of the X or Instagram. All right, fine.
Just text me.
I'll text you.
You know how hurt I was? I couldn't even eat my meal. I was crying.
Wow.
I'm
sorry.
Kidding.
Well, maybe you'll feel better when you know, Bruce, that Miami will have an opportunity to earn up to about $15 million extra annually through the success initiatives and the brand initiatives that the ACC is instituting. So they're going to be, we've had, about 15 months of, awkward, bitter legal drama between the ACC and 2 of their members. Florida State and Clemson have been suing them. There are 4 lawsuits involved between the 2 sides. They're going to be settling those lawsuits as soon as today, Bruce. And some of the terms of that, and some people mistakenly report on this saying, oh, the ACC, they're going to be giving Clemson and Florida State extra money. But no, every school has an opportunity to get that same extra money. So the success initiative means, the more you win on the field, right, you qualify for a bowl game. That's one benchmark. You get to the ACC championship game, get to the CFP, you can earn extra money because of that. And then the brand initiative is the higher your TV ratings are, the more money you earn. And so right there, Miami has that opportunity. Obviously, Florida State and Clemson have been big ratings draws. And, outside of 2-10 last year, both of those teams have been very good on the field in recent years. Miami, is trying to get up there consistently, but you would say Miami, along with Florida State and Clemson, one of the three biggest brands in the ACC. There's no doubt. So Miami has the same opportunity, Bruce, to close that gap revenue-wise from the SEC and the Big Ten. Miami has that chance. Miami wins here.
Yeah, but you mentioned these teams all have a chance. That's theoretically, but in reality, you really only have a couple of teams. We know that, and so that and I said when this lawsuit started that Florida State and Clemson I consider them the lead blockers, and Miami is just sitting back and waiting. And they did this, and Miami's going to benefit and didn't spend a dime.
Yeah,
and that was one of the reasons why I remember that people were jumping all over Gary Furman, my friend, about this, and he said, "Let it go. Let's let it play out. You don't have to join and spend millions of dollars on this stuff. Let them go ahead. Let's see what happens. That's all. We could always file a lawsuit if we think they're going to win. So it turned out okay.
Yeah.
But now we got to win games and we got to make extra revenue. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. We got and Miami's always going to do well on TV, but when you're good, it makes a big difference. Like Bruce, last year, Miami's TV ratings were at the top because they had a 10-win season and they had Cam Ward, who was must-see.
They had
TV.
Cam Ward was the number one reason, I'll bet.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you had to tune in and watch Cam Ward. And so, you put an exciting product on the field. And also, the ACC is also instituting, and we think this is part of the settlement as well. Notre Dame, of course, is a huge TV draw. Right. And they're doing this new program where Notre Dame is going to play every season 2 out of the 3, Miami, Florida State, and Clemson. So we're going to get more matchups against Notre Dame.
Why those teams? Why do we have to play them every 2 or 3 years or something like that? Why can't they play the rest of these teams?
Well, because they want Notre Dame to go up against the teams that have the highest opportunity to get TV ratings. So that's
okay, but they're not going to participate in this revenue sharing.
No.
They can just help the ratings. Obviously.
They're going to help the ratings. Yeah. No. Notre Dame and football still not part of the ACC, but every year Notre Dame is going to play 2 out of the 3. Clemson, Miami, Florida State on a rotating basis, which is, anytime you play against Notre Dame, your TV ratings are going to be good.
That's true. But it's not going to impact the ACC because the ACC, this is a non-conference game for.
Yeah, it's a non-conference game. Yeah, they have a scheduling agreement. It's a non-conference game, but they have a scheduling agreement with the ACC.
I'm not thrilled about that, but okay.
But hey, I mean, it's not, and of course, Miami opens at home against Notre Dame this year, which is going to be a big ratings game, and that's also a thing that Miami. We talk about how they've got a tougher schedule this year, but that tougher schedule is also an opportunity for better TV ratings. Notre Dame, that's going to be a big first game of the season.
I hope that's a night game. I don't know if it will be, but I hope it's a night game because if we play a night game against a team like that, last time we played them in 2017. That was
I think it is a night game, right? Because it's a Sunday night. Let me hold on.
Okay, good. Because that was the loudest I've ever heard that stadium.
Oh yeah, 2017 against Notre Dame, that was insane.
Yeah, that and then when the Dolphins beat the Bears in '85.
Yeah, 7:30 p.m. Bruce. It's a night game.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
perfect.
Yeah,
perfect. I think we're going to ambush them.
Your mouth to God's ears.
Saying that and this is no offense to this kid. Would not be saying that if Emory was the starting quarterback by the virtue of the fact that we have Beck, and I said he's played big games and he's used to playing those SEC teams. It's not going to scare him at all.
I mean, think about all the big games he played last year at Georgia. He's not going to be scared of Notre Dame. I'm sure he'll have some butterflies first game at Miami and all that, but it's not going to hit him the same way it would hit other quarterbacks. That's for sure.
I know, and this is a good thing. So there's a lot to look forward to. Yeah. So I'm going to get in touch with Bryant in a little while. I know he's going to his workout at 10:30, but we're going to try to get him on tomorrow afternoon. Let me just do me a favor. I don't have to be in court tomorrow. I hope because I don't know my schedule.
Can you cancel on the court?
Yeah, I'll just tell the judge I got something more important to do.
Contempt. I don't have. What would that make you? Contempt of court?
We're
okay,
clear.
Good. All right, we're clear. All right, good. Well, we'll talk to everybody then. Huge thank you to the truth teller, Bruce Warner. Huge thank you to all of you guys for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. So tomorrow's going to be loaded because we'll have post-practice thoughts. We'll have Bryant McKinney with us. We'll talk to you then on another episode of Locked On Canes. We are part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.